I don't know if those were all alphas. I know these were here before. These 3 were here. So I think we're probably good, unless I threw that one.
You got a marker?
Yeah, I think I do. Hey. Cover me, cover me. Move. Reloading. Back up. Oh, going close. This guy's down. We got some fun. Back of the sedan.
Got him?
Good. Nice.
I was like, is that cardboard in?
He's still moving!
I'm on you. All right. I got one. I've only got one. So flat. You got fucking came off the corner.
Try with the can off. Pull down so I don't burn my fucking fingers off.
What are you, the fucking bird?
This runs so good, dude. I could shoot this all day. Behind it, 300. And then the one all the way on the berm, we know the 500?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 3 that we're shooting.
Okay.
The name of the game is...
Hey, what's going on, guys? Garrett with Executive Firearms, and this is something new that I wanted to do. I wanted to share with you guys. I thought it'd be a really good way to get questions and answers. Also, I found just a particular game that I've been messing around with a lot right now that's actually really good game so that I can talk, and it will be relevant with what I'm talking about. So that was kind of the purpose behind this streams. I figured you could ask questions and being able to answer those quickly. Have a lot of my gear obviously behind me. Things like that will allow me to answer some good questions. Hey Garrett, what's up? What's the new Spunky Twitch stream name? Twitch seems to be stupid for some reason. I will type that in there. Let's see. I gotta sign in to my own executive in order to. Got it. Okay, got it. Let's see. Hopefully it'll let me. Why will it not? Okay. It is Spunky, and it's with an O now. So many people were having trouble with Spunky Twitch TV. If anyone is wondering, that is kind of the name that I do. Just fun, hang out, my personal thing. This stream is going to be a lot more just about executive and have to do with questions that people have, things like that. So if you want to follow when I play Call of Duty or Tarkov, some of those other more gaming based stuff, you can still ask questions there. That would be the one to follow on Twitch. And I'll share some information like videos and things like that from the YouTube channel on there. But this one is going to be more one-on-one, just with me. I probably won't have guests on here, things like that. It'll probably just be me talking. So one thing that I just got back from is actually an Airsoft event. Was invited out by Lucas, and we went to this basically a milsim event, and I had never really done that before. I've never played airsoft. I mean, I've done like informal airsoft, but I had never done anything uh, organized, I guess you would say. And if I'm having any issues with audio, if you guys are seeing any video issues or anything like that, please let me know, because this is the first time that I'm doing it on YouTube, and I've never messed with that before. So I want to make sure that I get it squared away and good to go. So I'm going to start doing some of these YouTube streams, just questions and answers. I know that YouTube can be a little less gun friendly, so we'll see how that goes. But if it's questions about any stuff, anything, I'm happy to answer them as we go. So the Airsoft event was good. I think it's another market or industry that is kind of untapped. What I think happens lots of times is people like to divide things. People like to take and divide, from the airsoft, from the competition shooting, from whatever, and even within airsoft, they have the dudes that are like more of the milsim versus the people that like to run around and do kind of the speed shooting type deal. So what I've kind of realized about that is, my impression was that when I went to this event, I thought that I was going to have a lot of people that understood, really good light discipline, understood movement, understood how to like pull security, understood a lot of these things that I would consider not high speed, not crazy, and a lot of them didn't, and it wasn't no fault of their own. There's some parts of it that are because it's airsoft and things like that they're going to be doing. That nobody wants to do the boring job when you're playing airsoft. I totally understand that. Nobody wants to sit and pull security on a window, so there's a little bit of that. But even, one example is moving with night vision. We were trying to, the three of us, me, Drew, and Lucas, were trying to move around with night vision. And a lot of the people that were with us were not necessarily improper use of white light, but it would be like we'd be in a blacked out room that was real, real dark. And I'm just moving slowly, looking with nods, and trying to just listen, hear what's going on. There's no reason to be running forward. And they would kind of like stall, and then one of them came like sprinting up behind me in this little hallway. And there's really no reason to make that much noise. And people don't know any better. They just kind of think they're playing it like it's daytime or whatever. So it's good practice for just kind of like common sense things like that. That is one in the military, not to get all doctrinal, but common sense is one of the principles of patrol. So, having, I believe it's principles of patrol. It's been so long, but it's basically one of the things that they're saying you need common sense when you're doing this. You need to be able to think for yourself and think through things that make sense. Other than that, airsoft is really, really cool. Got some good practice of being able to do, limited penetration, room clearing, going in hard, dynamic stuff. I hate the word dynamic, but it is what it is. Good communication skills. That's another thing a lot of people don't kind of practice is when they're on a radio, they keep it short and sweet. But even when they're feeding information, there's too much information going on everywhere. It's overwhelming to where the people that need to know what's happening don't know what's happening because basically the air is so clogged with everyone's words. So, again, this is not me being negative. This is me looking at things and thinking of how folks could really benefit from a little bit of not just firearms training, but there's a lot of different things. The stuff that I consider to be common sense is not so common, or just not even common sense. I don't want to say common sense. That sounds negative. But the stuff that I thought would be common knowledge is not common knowledge. And so, yeah, there's just a little bit of an area there that I think information could be shared. Most of them are very, very receptive to information. Like, I do not like being the person that's like, hey, listen up here and go all military. But we got to a point where I was kind of rolling with them, and I went, I don't think they even know what limited penetration room clearing is. And people will say, oh, yeah, I know that. Really, I understand that. I know that. But I'm talking about a lot of them were like, yeah, I've never done limited penetration. I don't know what that is because they don't really teach it in Big Army. At least they didn't when I was in either, So I was fortunate enough to learn that from just friends that, are in better units than I was or whatever the case may be. So I just shared here, here's what, here's limited penetration, here's how this works. And especially in airsoft, nobody's going to be shooting through walls. So there's really not a reason to use anything else besides limited penetration. So could you go over your comm setup for the event. I think trying to work with radios could be a great new challenge for us to work on the flat range during these limited ammo times. Yes, absolutely. So comms is an interesting one. I actually we didn't run any radios, and I think that was a mistake. I did do a radio check with the headset and all that stuff. My Peltors, I got them to work, but there's a loud humming noise in the background. So it works, yes. Is it the best way to go? I don't know. Comms is one of those kind of. I kind of see it as like a big hill to tackle. Bowfangs work really, really well. Keeping it simple is never a bad idea. If you just get a Bowfang with a simple earpiece, that's not a bad setup. But a lot of that stuff is kind of weird. So I don't want to give you information that I don't have yet. The thing about the Bowfangs is they're breakable. So keeping it on your chest rig or on your kit or whatever, yeah, you could do it. But if you take a spill or bump into something, you might break that thing, which is okay because it's cheap. But that is not a bad way to do it. The range on them is okay. I honestly was gonna just use my phone and Discord. I brought my little headphones, and I was just gonna say, hey, let's hop in a Discord lobby because I believe it has encryption, which is great for if service is there, if there's service or whatever, but not so great if you don't have service. So depends on the situation, everything that's going on. I think very bare minimum, just grabbing a Bowfang is a good idea for comms. Just like very, very minimal. Last night when I was driving, I just flipped it on and was listening to just different stations, what people are saying. A lot of the people that have radios and are shooting out, big transmissions over ham radios or any of that stuff, it's nice to just stay informed on what they're talking about or what's going on. So I would say at the very least, go on Amazon, spend $30, get a good Bowfang. But more to come on that. Comms needs to be, admittedly, that is one area that a lot of people who are not in the military don't like to touch because it's kind of tough. Cell phones are really, really good. That's kind of a primary. An alternate's going to be, radio. Okay. Recommended BCG upgrade for my PSA AR. Something possibly in stock. BCMs are out of stock. Okay. Upgrade as far as the actual bolt carrier group. Arrow makes good stuff. But honestly, what's more important from my understanding is not necessarily the bolt carrier, but making sure that you have a really tightly head-spaced bolt to your barrel. So SAMI spec, and this is at least my understanding or my knowledge of it, SAMI spec is a lot bigger. I don't know what the specifications are, but it's from, let's say it's from here is okay to here is okay, right? So if you have from here to here, that's okay. Then within that window, there's actually a tighter go no-go gauge that you can get for head spacing that brings your window down to like this. What that does for you, and who's a really, really good person to reach out to and talk to about this is Mike from Criterion. He will do a really, really good job of just reach out to Criterion about it. If you don't have a Criterion barrel, you should get one. But he will be able to tell you the science behind locking, unlocking, all of that stuff. Yes, see, good price, and so those guys won't be bad as well. BCGs, honestly, they make a difference, but I would say more importantly is making sure you have a good head-spaced bolt. That will really, really help you. It'll make it so that you're getting a more consistent chamber pressure and all that stuff. It's not unlocking too soon or too fast or whatever. And then also messing with your buffer and your buffer spring is a really good thing to do to get it tuned. Depending on your barrel length, depending on your gas port size, all of that stuff. Most rifles, you can tune them to be really, really reliable, but they're going to shoot a little bit rougher and beat things up a little more. Or you can find if you're only shooting 5.56, then you can tune it to be really, really good with 5.56. So that's the whole tuning process a little bit. Just finding a good buffer weight, spring, make sure your bolt's head spaced. I don't know that, to be completely honest with you, I don't know the downfalls of inexpensive like PSA bolt carriers, honestly. Besides maybe tolerances or something like that. But I would say, yeah, if you can upgrade to, something a little nicer, but you're not going to notice a difference. You're not going to feel a difference in the bolt carrier. It's not going to be like, oh, it shoots so much nicer. Let's see. And if anyone has information about that on why you would particularly want to upgrade the bolt carrier group, go ahead and shoot it in the chat. PVS 14 retailer. So there's a couple really good companies out there. There's a special being run on a company by the name of Steely Industries right now, and I think they're running some 14s. I'm not sure what the wait time is. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. But they are a good company down in Florida. I'm actually getting ready to, I think, buy, we'll see what happens, but buy a set of DTNVGs from them. Let's see. Night vision. Yes, so PBS 14 New Year's special. If you're wanting something introductory, let me pull this up. Show you guys this real quick. Okay, if you're wanting something introductory, this is the website right here, Steely Industries. These guys are not bad at all. These are ITT Omni 4 image intensifiers, PVS 14 use tubes. So basically, what these are going to look like are, I think these actually might be what my 14s are. I'm not 100% positive. I am actually not the night vision guru. I know how to use it, but I don't understand how the specs and all that stuff. There's a couple really, really good people. Steely Industries is really good. Sam from Greenline, reaching out to Greenline Tactical is really good. TNVC knows their stuff. I'm trying to think of anyone else that I can mention that's really good at like understanding night vision. But basically, what you're looking at is when you get into something that's a little bit less. The housing is the housing. Okay, the housing is just you have a PVS 14 housing. It is what it is. But your tubes are what make the difference. So you want to make sure what's important to you in your night vision. I would say minimum Gen 3. Do not mess with Gen 2. I've used it. It's just not worth the money. Save a little bit extra and get Gen 3. 14s, you know, if you're going budget, you can always go budget and get like just a normal okay green tube that does, you know, helps you see at night, but your halo might be a little bit higher. It just depends on what you want. But that would be a good place to start reaching out to them. You just really have to decide where you want to compromise, or do you want to go all, you know, white phosphorus and get the best thing that exists? There's options. But for $2,000, I would imagine that's not a bad tube whatsoever. It's probably very close to what I have, my 14 that I have right now, and it totally works. And it's more important to understand how to use night vision, in my opinion, than it is to have like an insanely amazing tube. Nice tubes help, but if you don't know how to use them, you know, what's the point? Let's see, retailer. Yeah, you're good. Could you break down your chest rig plate carrier with what you carry and some items you think use us dirty civs should be carrying and practicing with and training with? Okay, so plate carriers. It all depends on what you need. It's simple, man. A lot of the stuff, even when I was on deployment in the Army, you didn't carry a ton of stuff. You had kind of the basics. Now, as you needed to add certain things in, sure. I would say the very, very minimal setup that I would roll with is I like medical on my stuff. I want to have some sort of, you know, way to plug holes and stop bleeds. So, you know, gauze, tourniquets, those are important. I think that's a really, really good thing. And I think both of mine, one of them is set up right now. I just kind of transfer my IFAC around. And I have one little IFAC that fits in the plate carrier. So if I'm running the plate carrier, I was doing some stuff where I was wearing the plate carrier underneath clothing, and I wasn't wearing like a belt or anything like that. I just was armor. So I had the med kit, the T-Rex med kit in the little cummerbund, and it's really invisible with L210s in there. So that setup, that's how I was running it. Now, if I'm going to the range, or if I were doing, I don't know, let's just make up a scenario. Let's say I'm doing a direct action thing. I'm probably going to be carrying some sort of, on the plate carrier, I'm going to have 3 mags in the front. I don't like getting it busy because when you go prone or just stuff just gets snagged. I like plate carriers. I like to keep nice and thin, not a bunch of layers, not a bunch of stuff rattling around on me. I like to have it nice and thin. So probably 3 mags on the front. I might stuff a pistol mag in there just to have an extra pistol mag up top. I'm going to carry a tourniquet. I'm going to carry medical on it. Probably a light, maybe a Gerber. Light and Gerber, a good thing. I actually don't love having my light up here though. I'd actually just carry it in a pocket because sometimes when you need a handheld light, you just want to pull it out and be able to use the handheld light. You don't have to like sling your rifle and come grab all that stuff. It's just kind of over the top. So yeah, some of those things. And then, you know, a radio, if you have a radio, whatever your comm setup is. Some chem lights is never a bad thing. Somebody asked a while back why chem lights. Chem lights are really, really good for signaling. They can mean different things. Like, for instance, sometimes people carry a red chem light, so it's like an emergency. So basically, if you're working in low light or night vision or whatever, and you have an emergency, you're injured, you're hurt, you can pop that red chem light and kind of set it on you so that people go, oh, that's a red chem light, that means something. They sometimes do that with IR chem lights. If it's complete like night vision stuff, you can pop an IR chem light. That can mean stuff that's signaling. Sometimes you don't know specifically even what you're going to use it for. You just having it, and then you kind of like develop like, hey, this means this means that. It can gather attention. Like we used to take 550 cord and put it on the end of a chem light. Put the chem light on the end of 550, and you twirl it around like that. It's called a buzz saw. That's a good way of signaling, certain things, whatever it is. They used to have where you hang chem lights outside of buildings. So like if you're moving through a room and you've got some support by fire set up outside, and they can basically what happens is usually you set the stuff in L shape, not to get super lost in it, but you'd toss a chem light, hold a chem light outside the window, and that meant, hey, this up to this point is clear. So then they could shift their fire to the next room, and that helps preventing blue on blue. Which you don't see any of that, interestingly enough, in Airsoft, and I think it's just because everything's a little too big and all over the place. I'll talk about that a little bit more. So with plate carriers, that's a pretty good thing. Making sure that your medical stuff is not in the way. Going to the range, just testing it out. If you put something new on your carrier, like, hey, is this in the way of anything? Sometimes you wouldn't think about it. Sometimes it's in the way of your sling, all that. And then backpacks. It doesn't need to be a fancy like tactical backpack. It can be if you want to, but just having some stuff that you would need to sustain you. Some snacks, having some water, whether it's a bladder or whatever. Having just a backpack that you can throw. We call it an assault pack. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. It can just be a normal backpack. It can be whatever brand you want. It just has to carry the stuff that you would need. Common sense dictates there's nothing crazy high speed. There's some stuff you probably wouldn't think of, but having maybe a couple extra magazines in that backpack is not a bad idea. Having room to take off your helmet if you want to and carry your helmet. Having if you want to get some spare parts for your AR, a spare firing pin, little things like that aren't heavy to carry, I suppose you could do that too. In the military, they used to make you carry cleaning kits. Yeah, stuff like that. So nothing crazy. If you're going to carry anything for cleaning, I would recommend carrying a metal rod, cleaning rod, because sometimes you can have split head casings. I had a guy out to the range yesterday. I was giving a lesson, or a couple of weeks ago. I was giving a lesson to, and he kept having his ammo basically do split head casings, and so he had to. His best bet was taking a 5.56 round and trying to get stuck in the casing and then pull it out, and it actually worked a couple times. But what would have fixed it really, really easily is just having a cleaning rod. Yeah. My chest rig is pretty much the same thing. It just doesn't have body armor in it. So all the stuff I just mentioned, same stuff I'm going to carry. I'm seeing some people carry maps and land nav and anything like that. Anything you think would be useful, just don't overcrowd it with a bunch of stuff you don't need. That's the best advice I have. Yeah. White Foss, also Steely, has some really, really good stuff. Just make sure that night vision is one of those things you don't want to go over the top and be, paying for something really, really cheap. So that is what I would say. Right, let's look here. They are my only option. It is better to 3AR hard plates or no plates and a chest rig. It depends, man. So in the military, they teach you certain things about security. The way I look at it is like speed can be security. If you're wanting to stay light and move really, really quick, great. But if the plates weigh so much that it's really weighing you down, especially like I think 3A is steel, I'm assuming. But steel plate's one of my big things with them is it's weight, man. It's a lot of weight on you. So, and there is the argument to be made about, getting hit with a steel plate on your chest and where that spalling is going to go. For me, I don't personally feel comfortable with it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know all the dynamics of body armor, but I personally don't feel comfortable with it. Ceramics make a lot more sense to me. And with the L210s being the way they are and the price that they are, I would say if you're going to spend, what you have to spend on inexpensive armor is another 2-3 weeks of saving up and getting HESCOs, I'm going to get the HESCOs personally. So that's my 2 cents on it. Yes, chest rigs can work, especially in like a reconnaissance setting in a place where you're not supposed to take contact. So if you're doing like E&E, where you're trying to evade things, especially in like civil unrest, riots, things like that. If you're trying to evade things, you don't want to be noticed. You don't want to have, a bunch of kit on. You don't want to be like, you just want to be able to blend in. You want to go places where people aren't going to pay any attention to you. And that's what, like, the reconnaissance job, they have to make it sound like it's super sexy because it's basically really boring. Or it should be really boring because you don't want to get detected. You want to get information and get out. That's the whole purpose of reconnaissance. That's why you're not geared towards taking contact. Now, you have to have it as an emergency, sure, but yeah, that's kind of the purpose of it. So, personal preference, man. Look at your area. Look at what what you think's likely, what you think's unlikely. Nobody really knows, especially on the civilian side. None of us really know what's extremely likely versus what's not likely. But just understanding it is a nice thing to have armor on. If you put yourself in certain situations, it's nice to have armor on. Other situations, if you're really trying to play it, blend in and do all that stuff, but be as ready as you can be, that's my 2 cents on it. A lot of this stuff is people that would give you straight answers. That would require them knowing exactly like the mission or whatever. And even then, it sometimes can go up in the air. So I hope that's kind of a good answer. I'm sorry that I don't have a solid like you should do this. But a lot of firearms, if you look just like this industry in general, whether it's firearms, armor, night vision, or anything you get into, camera stuff, photography, a lot of it is just trying something and then being like, oh, I was wrong, and turning around and doing what you thought, right? That's how you develop stuff. So some of those things are personal preference, make the best decision you think fits, and then go from there. Let's see if they made so thanks for the responses. Absolutely, man. That's what I'm here for. Steel ops plate barriers are 6 pounds. Yeah. 6 pounds. Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I know there's a huge debate about plates and all that stuff. I like ceramics. I'm not somebody I haven't tested. So I always break things down into personal experience versus like what I've heard, right? And a lot of people don't differentiate between those two things. I have personally never shot a steel like a plate to see what happens. I haven't tested a lot of these armors. I haven't done that, right? But I do have people that I know that are, I take on good authority that have told me about it and, take some issues with it. So for me, all I can do in that is rather than taking a hard stand and be like, you're dumb if you do this or da 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 and getting all upset about it. I mean, it's America. Do what you want. But I give my 2 cents on something based on what I've heard, right? And then I'll be transparent about that. It is what it is. The ceramics make more sense to me. I had steel plates for a little while. They were just heavy. It just sucked. So I would even say just for shedding the weight, it's worth the extra money, regardless of whether it, I know both arguments, and it's just kind of to me personal preference, man. If you had, let's see, 3A soft plates behind a 3A hard plates, would it give me an extra protection? Just curious. I mean, any extra armor is always extra armor. When I was deployed, they had us put soft armor behind sappies, which doesn't particularly make sense, I don't think. But extra armor is extra armor. It'll be hotter. It'll be thicker. But, what's comfortable. The biggest thing I would say is if you really want to test it out, when you get that armor set up, go run around at an airsoft match. Half the people there, more than half the people there. It was like 12 people wearing actual armor. So whatever armor setup you have, if you want, go play, go do something where you have to run around or wear it or whatever. Wear it around your house for the day. Like just commit to be like, all right, for one day, I'm going to wear this armor. Like it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm sitting down or doing anything, whatever. Just one day, wear that armor around your house for an entire day. And if by the end of the day, you're like, all right, this sucks a whole lot. I couldn't even think about wearing this tomorrow again, then maybe it's not a good setup. You know what I mean? It's all personal preference and that stuff. I would consult multiple different companies, try and not be biased, and try and look at, there's getting a good deal and there's getting ripped off, and it's a fine line. Let's see. Let me catch up. Off-grid fishing. Would humidity play a part in the longevity of steel plates also? Rust over time? That's a good question. I would imagine, but they put a lot of really good coatings on them. So, if it got cut or the steel was exposed, I would imagine that could be a possibility. But I have some steel targets that sit out at my range. They're much thicker steel, obviously, than you'd use steel plates, but that's not an issue for them. So I'd imagine there's some sort of maybe coating. They get a little bit of rust on them, but they'd have to probably get shot. So I don't think that's, doesn't seem like it'd be much of an issue for me. Let's see. Outside of shooting / gun stuffs, what skills do you recommend the gun community focus on? I feel like 2020 is the year to break out and learn new skills. That is a really, really, really good question, actually. Phenomenal question. So there's several skills that people could work on. And actually that segues pretty well into the next thing that I was going to talk about. Was actually a class we have coming up here in Georgia. It's a concealed carry force-on-force and communications class. Basically, it's a concealed carry where we use airsoft pistols. We do different scenarios and work on distance management and all that stuff. So, but before I get into that and I advertise for that, So a couple skills. One that I think is very simple and extremely important for people: communication. And I don't just mean there's multiple. It's a multifaceted. It breaks up into brackets. I don't just mean communication in the sense of like, uh, I'm moving here, you go here. You know, that stuff is really really good. There's plenty of different ways you can get good at doing that. Whether it be uh, sports. Sports can help you learn how to communicate. People that get that feel of like, okay, if you do this, I'm going to do this, and that helps you out in this way, and understanding kind of the lay of the land. Or it's, you know, learning how to talk on radios, or it's playing video games and communicating with your buddies on video games, getting better at passing information off, making sure everyone's on the same page, but then not overwhelming people with information. So that would be communication, I would say, that as it relates in an operational way. Um, so there's that communication. And then there's communication as in like threat de-escalation, reading people, finding the path of least resistance. That is something that I really enjoy, and I think people should learn how to kind of pick up on that. And you don't, I mean, I'm sure you could take a bunch of classes, but what I would say is like most of the people that took this concealed carry class the first time we did it, when they got done, they were like, I thought this was going to be a shooting class. And I learned a lot about shooting and my draw and time and standoff and, you know, all this stuff. But wow, I learned so much more about how to talk to people. And what's so great about that is like you'll get in a situation. We had a couple where people like use verbal jujitsu, and the person was like, "Well, there's no way in real life I would still like pursue this." Like he kind of stumped me. And I think that's a very underutilized and underpracticed skill, whether it be military, law enforcement, or civilians. I see a lot of law enforcement dudes like you watch those videos, and they might be right within what they're doing, but they probably could have changed the dynamics of the situation by being a little bit better at communicating, and still gotten to the same objective that they wanted. So communication is a really, really, really big, complex thing that I think a lot of the gun industry does not focus on, and a lot of people in general do not focus on being very articulate and able to communicate what they want. So that would be a really, really big one. Other than that, you know, staying in shape. Jiu-jitsu is a really good one. Some sort of combative martial art that lets you, that humbles you and has a standard. That's a really, really good skill. Other skills. I mean, that pretty much sums it up, man. There's so many, but those ones particularly, I would say, are really, really good. And that, it just, good eating habits, staying active. Those are really big. Seeing a lot of the folks that are out there and just the way that they treat their bodies is rough. You know what I mean? You got to take care of yourself, or else, you know, if you might not even be able to run around in a plate carrier. So that's one thing that I think is really, really important. I hope that answers that question. Really, really good question. What's up, dude? Love the video. Very inspiring to us. Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. I try and keep up and do these YouTube streams because I feel like it gets you guys a really good opportunity to ask some good questions, see some gear, and then also what I was going to get into is playing kind of a cool little game here in a second. It's called Door Kickers 2, and it's a fun kind of just CQB little game. And there's a lot of good stuff you can pick up from doing it, and things that I can kind of just explain and show. So I'll get into that in a second. But if you are interested in the class, it is on the 6th here in Georgia, the 6th in northern Georgia, just not far outside of Atlanta, at a little spot. And we're going to be doing, basically we have some airsoft guns. We're going to be playing out scenarios. We're going to be working on draw stroke, threat de-escalation, all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in that class, I'm actually only opening up that to like 10 people or so. And that one will be from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2. So if you're in the surrounding states, like you're not far if you're from Chattanooga, you're not far if you're in, you know, southern Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, those areas, Tennessee, you know, Alabama, all that place, you're not far away. You should definitely check that one out. That's actually one where you really could just come by yourself because we're using Airsoft. So you don't even need to have a gun, honestly. And that is, you know, for the beginner person who's never held a gun, never done any of this stuff, that's a good eye opener for like, wow, if I was thinking about carrying a gun, this opens up some different dynamics. You learn communication skills. You can learn some stuff about just spatial management, situational awareness, all those things. So really, really good class. That's available. It's on the website, www.executive-firearms. Go check it out if you want to. Okay, so enough about that. Let me show you guys this game real quick. Let me flip over to the other screen. Let's see what questions we have. Do you carry? Let's see. Airsoft is what sparked my interest in firearms, so it's nice to finally hear members of the gun industry start to embrace the airsoft. Yes, and that's going to get a lot better, man. That's going to start getting bigger, I think. I want to push for it. I think there's a lot of shooters that could benefit from airsoft and a lot of airsofters that could benefit from shooters. So anytime I see that, I try and bridge gaps instead of find reasons why we shouldn't like each other. Let's see, what else do I got? Do you carry blade multi-tool on the chest rig plate carrier? If so, do you have a preference in brand, type of multi-tool, and blade? Also enjoy the videos. Absolutely, man. So for my plate carrier, I've never been a huge one to carry a blade. The reason being is I just don't feel like I can maintain accountability of a rifle, a handgun, and a blade. If the blade's hidden, great. I know a lot of people that carry on the smaller back with blades, different things like that. For me, if I'm carrying a rifle and a handgun, I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad idea to have a knife on you, but I personally don't like having a knife unless I'm in like a concealed carry setup. Then sure. And then I actually have that one right here. Sometimes I'll carry this little K-bar knife, which is not bad. There's a bunch of different ones out there. This is just a little good like concealable knife. So yeah, you could definitely throw something like this in your plate carrier or your chest rig. There's nothing wrong with it. Just if you see it, and then just have a concept of how you would use it. That's the main reason I don't really mess with knives. Is I don't, what I would know how to apply would be based off of jiu-jitsu. It's like, okay, can I put my hand here or whatever? Then I would use a knife. So not opposed to it, but it's just extra stuff. Multi-tools, I have a couple Gerbers. Leathermans are good. I don't really have a preference on multi-tools. The Gerbers that you can get, that's what we use in the military. I'm not going to say they're like super high quality because I've broken, tips off pliers before or something like that. But for general purpose and what I need it to do, it does the job. And multi-tools, if you don't have it on your kit, you should absolutely have it in your bag. So, yeah, Gerber or Leatherman are probably the two that I would recommend. Let's see. Do you have an alternative place other than YouTube for videos or content? Yes, our Instagram is up. We also have, I do personally a Twitch, but other than that, we are on Parler too as well. We'll have to see if there's some weird stuff that comes down from YouTube about firearms content. So far, I haven't had any issues, but obviously we're growing, so it just depends. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, if you want to check out a feed of like the Instagram, when you go to the website, scroll all the way down the bottom, the Instagram's on there, and that's some just more short form, quick videos, tips, and things like that I don't necessarily always post to YouTube. So some of the videos that are on YouTube are on Instagram, and some of them aren't, vice versa. Are you from Atlanta, and do you have any instructors you recommend? Yes, I live in Atlanta. I'm originally from Arizona, but I live in Atlanta. There are a lot of good instructors. I'm trying to think. A couple companies off the top of my head that I know of, obviously, Bear Solutions is really good. There's a gentleman up in North Carolina, Spartan NC on Instagram. I am sorry. He spells it like Veloc or Veloc training. Heard really, really good things about him. Obviously, that's a little bit of a drive from Atlanta. And then we obviously, Executive offers private lessons. So if you want to do a private lesson, you can hit me up on Instagram or go to the website and sign up for one of those as well. So Atlanta, love all. Warrior Poet is also in Atlanta. I don't know what classes they are. I've heard they're pretty hard to get into because he's booked up. So I've heard good things about those classes. Those are a little bit more going to be drill structured classes though, where you're on a line and he's, there's a good amount of you and it's coming through and just tweaking little things here and there. I am starting to prefer much more of a very small size class or one-on-one private lessons. One, because it takes up less of your time and you get more out of it, in my opinion. I can accomplish a lot more in 2 hours with folks than I can accomplish in 8 hours with 10 different people. So that's kind of the balance of it. Yeah, Velox. Yeah, Velox. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I don't know how to say it the right way. Thoughts on shotguns as fighting long gun? If you're trained with it, sure. Again, that's another one that I know a lot of people get upset when someone has an opinion about it. I would say it takes a lot more training to be good with a shotgun than it takes to be good with an AR. That would be my argument. Does it mean you can't be really good with a shotgun? No, absolutely not. I would just say it's going to take a lot more discipline to get really good with that shotgun. And obviously there's certain limitations like having to, feeding issues, things like that. But honestly, here's the truth of the matter. If you spend enough time training on a shotgun, you're going to answer your own question. If you you spend enough time behind that shotgun and you have, you're honest with yourself and you're like, okay, cool, then I feel comfortable with this. Then, go on the journey, man. Go on the journey. Parlor's on Amazon servers. They have pulled Parlor down. Can't access currently. That's what I heard. That's why it's kind of a tough question. There's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. So, yeah, I mean, the website's a good way to reach out to us. The email, you can always email me if you have questions or anything like that. My email is also good. Was just checking out your site. Love the idea of trainings that you can pay for, but much more involved with than YouTube or IG videos. I would love to see more companies take this approach. Yeah, when I stepped into the training arena, I just kind of realized, I don't know why that just, there it goes. I just kind of realized that people, they're kind of doing it. So there's a lot of money to be made when you just put 20 people on a line and you keep things very basic. And there's a place where that can be good for. It can be really, really good if you have a bunch of self-motivated people who already know what they need to do, but you're essentially just showing them drills. You're saying, hey, here's a drill to practice this. And then you can kind of show them, but they have to be able to be switched on enough to where they've mastered enough fundamentals and they understand why or what's going on, if that makes sense. So that's where a lot more people, from what I've seen, are much more on the level of where private lessons are not only more bang for their buck, but they're gonna get just so much more out of it, because I can personalize it, I can customize it. If I tell someone like, hey, you're pistol one, are you pistol one, pistol two, what do you want to take? And I get there and they say, oh, I'm pistol two for sure, and I get there and their fundamentals are kind of not quite where they want to be, or they didn't have a bar set. Then I have, if I've got other people there, I have to try and bend that content to multiple people. Whereas if it's a private lesson or a really small class, I can individualize it and make people get their money's worth out of it. And that's my goal. I don't, I want to obviously make money, but I want people to be feeling like what they paid for is what they got. So yeah. So anyway, guys, this game. Obviously, feel free to keep asking questions, but I just thought I would share this game because I think it's pretty cool. It's basically a close quarters game, just CQB, where you try and get in and accomplish whatever mission with not losing any guys or anything like that. So yeah. I have a Tundra as well. You might want to check out Facebook group, the First Gen Tundra. I'm sure you guys would like your content. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I love my First Gen, and I think I'm on one of those on Instagram, but I'll have to check Facebook out. I'm really not active on Facebook personally or for the company like I should be. YouTube has started doing well for me, so I started paying more attention to YouTube and getting into that, and I just haven't before really messed with YouTube. So I'm kind of getting the hang of that, and I might start taking it to Facebook, given that we don't get, for gun content, get banned or do any of that stuff. So let's see. I am near Sarasota in Florida. Do you ever come down here to train or teach? I'm cool with driving up there. Yes. So I have no issue going to places. The biggest difficulty, or what we run into, is that I can't travel somewhere for one class. You know what I mean? So if I go down to Florida or whatever, it ends up not being. It ends up that I'm losing money because I'm driving, going there for X amount of whatever. But the way that it works is if I can get, if you reach out to me and you're like, hey, I'd love to take a class. Not only that, but I've got 5 or 6 of my buddies that would love to take a class. Then that starts to be like, okay, cool. I can come down there. We can set up a private lesson at a local range or whatever. And then you also bring in that other range in there. You have to, sometimes they have ridiculous rates. Sometimes they don't have ridiculous rates. There's a lot that goes into it. Some ranges are really cool, and they'll be like, yeah, no worries. Just every person that comes, just have them, pay the range fee and then give us, X amount of dollars for the teaching or whatever. That's really, really easy. But it's finding a range like that. So my advice to you would be, one, either come up for a class. I don't know how far of a drive that is, or start networking with some of your buddies and get with me. Shoot me an email, and we can. If you get a couple dudes that are wanting to put it together and get a class, you get a local range. I can reach out to them, contact them, see. I don't mind doing that end of stuff, and that would be a really, really good way to kind of gauge interest in your area and a good way for us to get out there. I hope that answers the question. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at this team that I've got. So these guys are like your assaulters. This is a saw gunner. So we're going to get rid of some of these guys real quick. I'm going to build out my team the way I want to build out my team, not the way they suggest I build out my team. Okay. So these guys have Mark 18, Mark 18. Let's do a couple more. Mark 18.
Wilco.
Some of the things they have in this game, they're a little over the top. I think this is early access, so they're... Oh, wow, you can take body armor off of them. That doesn't seem like a good idea. All these should have body armor. So yeah, you can take body armor off, guys. That doesn't seem like a good call at all. Maybe they move a little faster. And then let's do 2 saw gunners.
Wilco.
Saw gunner there. That'll be a good little fire team. And then we'll do a marksman.
I'm on it.
You know what? Yeah, we'll do a marksman.
Roger.
And then actually I'm gonna bump this
Okay.
back. I'll do another
Okay.
explodey boy. These are like the grenadiers. Attack on his. These guys all the best stuff, you know. Don't want to not have any optics. So yeah, it's a pretty cool. I'll show you guys how this plays out. It's pretty fun. We'll
Can't do it.
oh, can't do it.
Can't do
Okay,
it.
so that's everyone. So then what you do, you get into your planning phase. And you basically obviously don't know where anything is. So what I thought was really, really cool about this game is I can explain basics. I don't need to get crazy lost in the weeds. Obviously, there's all sorts of different stuff that you can get out of this, but I can explain basics to you. So the traditional way of doing this would be, you know, you have the, you know, this guy comes up, buttons hooks here, and then faces this way, and then this guy, when he goes, button hooks here, and then faces this way. But there's some other stuff you can do in order to kind of see, especially if you have hard cover, you know, where this is actually covering concealment. What you can do is you can get this guy to focus on here, this guy to focus on here, and this guy can start just slowly pieing this corner, right? And what that's doing is this blue area right here is where I have not seen, and then it'll go dark if I've seen it there before, but I don't have eyes on it now. Add a little further. Alright.
They're here.
I can switch sides over here. So now he's pied across. They're on opposing sides. What's great about this is look how much of now, figuratively, you know, you might lose a little bit right here that I haven't seen. So maybe a guy could be hiding there, but from here I'm probably going to see it. Both my guys are in cover. So then what you can do is now, since that's the case, I can kind of face these dudes. They can do their normal kind of button hook thing, and they have a better idea of what they're going into, rather than just having no idea what they're going into. But once he gets here, I want him to pick up this window, slowly pie it. Once that happens, these guys will move up, up. Now, I can actually breach this wall, and I know very little about breaching walls. I'll be just straight up. I don't know anything about breaching walls in real life, but you know, I guess if you could blow a wall, great. For this, it makes sense. Okay, so now these dudes are taking fire. Hopefully they don't get lit up. Okay, he dealt with it. So now, one of these dudes, this guy is a saw gunner. I'm going to have him take security there, and this guy bump over. Now he can tie this. Okay, I can't see in there because of the drapes. No worries. Alright, now I'm going to set up... so you see, like, pieing stuff, we say the whole, like, oh, pieing it off, pie. It really is helpful when you have hard walls, because especially like in the airsoft practicality. But you know, you're not exposed, you're in cover, and that's a good place to be. When you go in like quick and fast, there's reasons, and people much smarter and more informed than me know more about when or why they would choose one way. But you know, for me, seeing as much of the room before I make the commitment and enter the room is not a bad thing if the situation permits it. Okay. Whoa, this game is sick. People will learn more from CQB tactics from dudes playing video games than anything else. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that can be picked up on it. You know, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because you know, experience is a very important thing. But understanding the concepts, I mean, that's what the Army does, is teach people this stuff. And you know, a lot of people never get to use it, but understanding it definitely helps increase, I would say, the chances that you're going to be a little bit more effective. All right, so now I got these guys. One of these guys should definitely be playing rear security, because I know nothing's coming from here in the game, but whatever, you know, it's not a bad idea to have some security. So I'll put this guy over here. He can be pulling security down here. This guy can come in here. Stack up. Right, now we got a bunch of dudes stacked up. I don't want to spend a bunch of time doing it, you know, hanging here. I'll get this guy to move this way. Okay. Now what I can do is I can move this guy up. He can start bashing this window in, and then move back. Alright, pretty good. He can apply this. So now I've again seen a lot of this guy saw a lot of the room when he pied. He didn't see right here. He didn't see this hard corner. Now that this has happened, I'd probably bump this guy up onto this side and have him. There's no real cover there, honestly, so probably just have him right here. Alright, now this guy just jump in and hopefully not get shot. Windows are hard. I could breach better from a doorway or something. But just, you know, coverage is the best thing you can do. And actually, since I've got enough dudes, I'll have this guy pull security this way. So now if you look, like just what I'm trying to maintain is not bunching people up super tight, because they do have hand grenades and RPGs in this game, and if you're bunched up, you will die. Like and one blows up, it will kill you. But I'm trying to maintain that I have dudes in cover, but they're also covering different directions. They'll be aware of what's going on. They can feed information. So as soon as that guy's in, this guy's got a pretty straightforward path to like jump in. Come on, go right here. Alright, so now I have two dudes in. Last guy can funnel in. Center. Right. Okay, so now I know a couple of these guys shot rounds. So like if this is just you know, how this would play out or how it could look is if this guy, you know, let's say this green guy right here, he needed to reload. He could let his buddy know. His buddy would shift up. He would shift back, and then when he got here, he could top off. Oh, bad hand. Horrible timing. So, you know, shit can happen. A doorway. I honestly didn't even notice this doorway here, which is my bad. I didn't realize there was a doorway there. I don't know why, but I didn't see the little thing. So that was actually not a good idea. What I should have done was I should have moved him like over here and had this guy pulling security on this door and this guy pulling security on this door. I can also let this guy in now. Okay. So I would, at this point, I can see that there's a wall here. So majority of my concern is going to be in this area. So what I can do is I can focus this guy right here, and then I can have this guy bust through and go here. Let's see, here-ish. Right? And this guy's still just pulling security, making sure no one comes there. I'm actually going to move him over here, though. Oh, this guy should have gone at the same time, but whatever. Okay. Now I can have him move here. This guy here, like this. This guy here, like this. Good. So now you saw these two guys covering. As soon as he clears that, I would want him shift there. Maybe get some cover. Right. This guy's come here. He can pull around. See, pieing a corner and identified an enemy. So now I can play back. And I got a guy. Whereas if I would have just rolled up to this door and gone boom, boom, I 100% would have hit a guy right there. Let's see. I saw this coming. What game is that? Door Kickers 2. It's co-op. Also, yeah, it's a good game, man. You and your buddies learning to communicate. It's a good way to learn how to communicate playing this game. It's a lot of fun. So, cool. So once there's this guy, now I could take, I can start bringing these guys in here. Bring this guy. He can still maintain security there. My saw gunner can just chill in this alleyway. I could probably bump one guy in here just to have these guys out here still pulling security. Oh, I don't want that. This guy can move here. Let's move that way. Okay, so two guys on this sector. Fire is not a bad idea. Alright, so now that, oh, this is a marksman, so I don't want him to come up. I want him to just hold the long angle on this. Move around. This guy set up. This guy set up. Get them about equal. What I'll do now is face him. He's just going to flow in like this. This guy's just going to flow in like this. See how that goes. There's a guy over there. I don't know where he went. But this is now clear over here. The only other issue we have is there is a room on the other side of this door. So what I would probably do, and some of this communication isn't realistic because like I can see the whole thing that's going on, whereas these guys would have to be radioing, and like how would you communicate to this team to breach right now? I mean, you probably could, especially if you have a schematic laid out. What they would probably do is be like room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, and if you could simple structure like this, you could realize what was happening. Be like, hey, we're in the back of, you know, room 5 right here, and we need you to room 2, and we're gonna have a window, like we're gonna be at the window or something like that. But to keep it simple, since this guy is, they don't know what's going on, they're just pulling security there, I'd bump this guy up to here to take this guy's position. Guy here. This guy would pick up the window. This guy would pick up the window as well. Right? So now this guy's already seen in here. So he can kind of see. So all that's unknown is this crap over here. Obviously we have this door right here too, so if I'm being smart, I would probably want to pull this guy back in and have him pull security right here. Or behind the barrel. I gave him an interesting path there. Because now, if you think about it, if there was someone in this room and they flooded out this door, they would have this guy's back. They would kill him. They could sneak around these guys. So, it's the whole insecurity. He's got security now. This guy can just pie. Clear. Okay, so that room's clear. These guys can now move here, a little bit further, get behind cover out of the doorway. And he can tell them, hey, this room's clear. These guys can flood in, kick it. Back up the friendlies. Now, this guy can stop pulling security there and could look. We don't have any windows besides that window, so maybe that way. All right. Another option is, again, this is like commander stuff. You don't have to do it. You can do it. Doesn't matter. Given the situation, you could pull these guys into the structure. It looks like we have trucks out here. You would absolutely have people chilling at the trucks. You would never just get out of the trucks and have, you know, nothing going on. So hopefully you'd have some sort of support by fire in the vehicles watching your butt, your ass from here. And then these guys would have a little bit more freedom of maneuver. I like keeping saw gunners, this guy exterior. So I'm going to move him up. And then this guy could just kind of fall back a little bit behind here. Security here. Saw gunner continues approach. This guy, I'm going to have him fixate here. And this marksman, I'm going to have him fixate here. It wouldn't be bad to get the dude marksman in here because we've got a long alley here, but it honestly won't matter. All I want to make sure is that there's not just some dude sitting in this corner that's going to pop around here and shoot my, like, lean in the window and shoot my dude. So this marksman can chill here. This guy can just move up. We know there's someone out here. I know that a dude was shooting from me, or shooting at me in there. I might have smoked him already. Frag in there. About to cover in the car. This dude will come out. Cover this way. Run. Gotta catch up. So now our saw gunner's starting to do work over here from cover. We don't have, you know, you'd want to let him know not to. This is another reason that like chem lights or stuff like that can be good signals, because if this saw gunner has this sector of fire and I start moving my dudes into there, he might, you know, blue on blue potentially. So shoot your own guys. All right, so now we're good here. Move this guy up, get a third guy out here. This team, start pushing him up this way to the edge of the vehicle. Have him pie. Let's have him probably the edge of the vehicle. Okay, pretty good there. Saw gunner can definitely move up. Actually, you know what? No, I don't want the saw gunner to move up. The reason being is still got these windows here. I don't want someone to I wouldn't want someone to pop through the windows and start shooting those dudes. So this guy can move here. Start going there. We'll shift him there. Right. Marksman's good now. He doesn't need to be crazy with the security. He could just push here, start staying behind him, see if he can get an angle. Glass into, like, if it was me, I'd start glassing into these windows or just paying attention, see if you can see if there's any movement or anyone in there. This guy he's just hanging out. I just left him there for a little too long. He didn't need to be there. This guy I would actually relink up with out here. Just help him out. This guy's in a good spot. Have him top off. You don't need to. Dang, you ain't been in a firefight. This guy's taking cover. Got him covered. I can fall back real quick. This guy picked up the sector. He can reload. He doesn't need to reload. He's not been in a firefight either, which is kind of lame. Okay. So now that that's happening, we would converge on what would be, labeled building 6, 7, 8, or however they would label it. They'd identify where they want to breach. This door's already been open. We've already shot someone in there, so it's not a bad place to start, rather than breaking through windows and funneling even more. So I'd have this guy come out and go to these guys. He can see in the doorway, which is good. This guy could go here. Get him focused on the door. This guy could go around. Focus on the doorway there. Tie it off. This guy. We have multiples in there. I want to frag. Oh man, these are both grenadiers. He sees this truck here, so honestly, he's gonna hit the truck, go around it. Like, having that angle is always a little bit better in my opinion, of like not going wide. If you can just flow straight at, like if the doorway is there, instead of, if he can basically flow in the doorway this way, that's gonna be a lot better than having to come here and button hook and take that other corner. This guy's already seen this corner essentially, so it's just easier for them to both go whoop, into the room. So he'll go in that. This guy will go in like this. Their sectors real quick, and then this guy will flow in behind them and take kind of middle. There it was. Mission complete. So the one thing I don't love about this game is I think you should have to search literally everything. I think you should just, no matter what, have to search the entire premises before it ends. But that's not how it works. It just has you do whatever. So I just wanted to just briefly share that with you guys. I thought this was kind of a cool, I don't even know if I would call it training, but it's kind of a cool video. It shows kind of just be able to play around with some room clearing ideas and see what works for you. And when you mess up, try and think about it. It's a video game, so translating it to real life is tough. But there are some lessons. And from what I've found, some of the stuff that I've been using, I mean, it works. Real stuff actually works in this. So it's a good little thing to practice. I don't think it's any downside to it, really, personally. Yeah, I just wanted to show that with you guys. If you have, I will be doing more of these streams. I will be doing, just a bunch more kind of Q&As, questions. I just wanted to test out the first one, see how the content of it went. And then, whether I start, for the folks that are on here and enjoy it, playing video games or whatever it is, if I just hop on and do lives with you, share things to talk about, stuff like that, I might do that. It can develop whatever you guys want to get out of it. That'd be a good way to do it. It's just a good place to kind of hang out, answer some questions, be able to show you stuff, illustrate things. So yeah, it's really, really enjoyable. Other than that, guys, please check out classes. If you can make it to a class, we'd love to have you out. If you have questions, reach out. I'm more more than happy to get to as many of them as I'm able to get to. I will continue to. And other than that, I mean, that's about all I had for the little live that I wanted to do today. I just wanted to jump in, let you guys know I'm going to start doing something like this. If you have topics or things you want to answer, questions or things like that, you can always shoot me a message on Instagram, an email, any of that stuff. I'd be more than happy to get back to that and answering that. I don't know how long, with Instagram, with social media and everything that's going on right now, who knows how long this is going to be possible. I don't know. But I just wanted to be able to share with you guys that game, talk a little bit, advertise some, see if you guys wanted to get in some upcoming classes and answer some questions. So with that in mind, guys, that's pretty much all I have. I will play us out with a just kind of a simple video, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yep.
Well, you'll always know that you can just sell
Stand
that
by.
stuff little by little when you get there.
Hey guys, how's it going? Garrett with Executive Firearms out here, and I'm exploring a little bit of Dahlonega today. We're out in the mountains doing a little bit of shooting. Got with me today my 14.5 rifle, which is rocking a Criterion barrel. So I'm going to be doing some testing on the Criterion barrel over the next couple months. But so far from the shooting that we've done and that I've been doing with this rifle, these are phenomenal barrels. If you don't know about Criterion, you really need to check them out. It's generally what I like to run in all of my rifles. So I need to bring it down. Quite a bit high, right?
You're over the top of it. So from the top, you're like 2 inches. Hit.
Or was that center?
It was like center right.